We are live. Welcome, one and all. It's me again, Noah Church. Saturday, May 11th. Good to see you here. And we're going to jump right into the questions. And since I see we have an early question from the chat, I'll start with that one. Hi, Noah. During the first few months, I had libido, but every time I ejaculate, my libido was less than before. It got less and less every month, and now I have no libido for the last several months. This makes me think that I'm in a pseudo flatline. Does it mean that if I stop masturbation, my libido will return soon? I'm on month 8 since I started the journey, and I was not always clean. Well, as you probably know from watching my videos, the timeline is different for each person, but there are many commonalities that I have seen over and over again in the people that I've worked with. And one is that if you're on that path of recovery, you're porn free, but you're continuing to masturbate or to have sex, and it feels like every time you do or every time you ejaculate, your libido gets set back, or you enter this hangover period or a flatline, as you described, it probably means that your body is not yet ready for that level of activity. And an important skill to develop in this journey is being able to listen to your body and not try to force things because you want them to happen or you want your body to work in a certain way when it's just you're not at that point of your recovery yet. And if you are healing from the porn-induced effects of years and years of masturbating to internet porn, and that's truly all that's going on, then likely all you really need is more time and the ability to listen to your body and not push yourself beyond what it's ready to do. That can, in fact, delay the healing process I have seen. And of course, there is a delicate balance to be had there because just being afraid to engage with your sexuality at all can also delay your recovery if you're not allowing yourself the chance to start rewiring, whether that's with a partner or for some people, just with masturbation to more realistic fantasy or to sensation itself. Especially that can be helpful for those who have never or almost never masturbated without porn, just as a stepping stone to start thinking and understanding your sexuality as separate from watching images on a screen. You've helped me a lot, Noah, but now after 30 days of nofap, I felt I was healed, but now I'm super sensitive and I'm quick to finish with a woman. 2 minutes. Do I have to get used to sex again, or should I continue with nofap? I don't see that as an either or question. You can continue with nofap, meaning you're not masturbating or watching pornography, and that's the important part for most of us is not using pornography, while at the same time enjoying and getting used to sex again. So I think that you probably at this point should be doing both. And there are techniques that you can use in order to help yourself last longer in bed. I think I made a video and article about this. Search my channel for premature ejaculation to see more detailed tips on this issue. But the key 2 skills that you can develop if you're struggling with that are, number 1, the ability to stay relaxed and to notice when you're tensing up either emotionally or physically, and consciously relax your muscles, relax your mind, relax your breathing, go back to deep breathing rather than tight and shallow breathing or holding your breath. And also to have that awareness of when you are getting toward the peak of your sexual experience and taking a break, either completely stopping or slowing things down so that you can get back to that plateau of pleasure. And if you can do that a few times, often people will find that they're able to last for a lot longer without having to do that every 10 seconds. But I think in time, as you continue to grow in your sexual experience and you continue along your journey, this won't be as big of an issue as it is right now. If you're only a month into this journey, then that is still in the beginning of the experience. And I don't think that you need to start worrying about a lifelong struggle with premature ejaculation just yet, but those practical tips do exist if you want to start employing them. All right, I'm going to some of the questions I received through my email newsletter and through my other platforms, I announce these live streams up ahead of time, and people who message me questions there first, I guarantee I'm going to get to your question. So the first is, I keep getting accidentally exposed to porn because of my friends or because of random videos online that have some random porn scenes. Is it a problem if I see them? I usually close them if I catch it in time. Yeah, this world, especially online, it's filled with sexual or pornographic images and content, and it's difficult to just avoid it completely. But fortunately, that's not necessary. It can be helpful, especially if you still struggle with urges and relapse, to avoid those exposures as much as possible in the early days. But the exposure itself isn't what harms you. It's the cycle of thought leading toward relapse that is the real harm, or the risk that when you are exposed, you'll immediately start engaging with that, search for more pictures, linger, start to fantasize. If you're confident that you won't do that, and you can just close that window, look away, shut it down when you see those images, it's not a big deal. In fact, it can actually be an aspect of your recovery that's strengthening you, because you're getting that practice at being exposed, at having those triggers, and at responding in a healthy way, which you do need to do at some point. If you're just completely insulated from all triggers, then you're not going to be prepared for them when you eventually encounter one. Hey Noah, you answered my question last time, and thank you for that. But as you said in the video, I forgot to mention the exact time. So I had a few morning woods here and there during the first 4 months of my reboot. But after that, I haven't had any for probably 2 months. And it's now 6 months into my journey, if I ignore 15 masturbations and one big relapse. But there is still no morning wood. When I reached the 5th month, I went without masturbation for 30 days, but still no morning wood. Should I see a doctor, or is it normal? Listen, if you start asking yourself, should I see a doctor? I'm never going to say no. You should go if you're worried about something physical going on that's wrong with you. You should absolutely go see your doctor, see a urologist, ask the right questions, get some tests done, just to ease your mind and make sure that there's nothing else at play. If you haven't experienced any erections at all for a month, then yeah, go ahead, go in. It could still be that you probably are, while you're asleep, experiencing nocturnal erections. It's just not strong enough or lasting long enough that you notice it when you wake up in the morning. And that is an automatic process of the male body that keeps your penile tissues healthy. Every night while you're sleeping, you experience erections, whether you notice it or not, and whether it carries over into the morning or not. If that's not happening, however, then it probably indicates that there is something physical going on. So there are tests that can be done about that. You can even do some of those tests at home. You can look this up, but you can either make one at home or buy a strip, like a sticker, basically, that you put around your penis, that if you get an erection, it'll break it. Don't make it too tight or constrict blood flow or anything. But there are tests like that that you can do to make sure you are still getting those nocturnal erections. But as for your recovery time, even if you had been totally abstinent from masturbation and porn, and you said you did have one big relapse and you did masturbate 15 times in those 6 months, but even if you had been completely abstinent, these ups and downs are normal. I would expect for you to have seen positive morning wood signs for a while, and then if you didn't have it for a month or two, I would expect that as well. Those ups and downs are normal, especially if you are sprinkling in relapses and masturbation in there as well. So I haven't seen anything in particular in that question that tells me you're definitely suffering from some physical ailment, but if you're worried about it, you should see a doctor. Just keep in mind that your doctor may not be aware of the effects of pornography use on erections and may not be aware of the timeline or process of recovery from that. So if they say, here it's probably all in your head, but here's some Viagra or something similar to give you some confidence, you probably don't need that Viagra, and it's not actually going to help what you're really recovering from. Hey Noah, I've hit 5 months today and I feel worse than ever. No sex drive, little, flaccid, and no erections. Do you think it's something physically wrong with me? I've had tests and came back no venous leak. Should I do a different test? So similar question. You already went and got yourself tested, at least for one thing. Another test that can be done is a penile Doppler ultrasound, where they will actually inject your penis with medication that promotes an erection, and then they'll do an ultrasound on your organ to make sure that blood flow is all operating as it should be. So that's one test that you can get done. Obviously, it's a little bit more invasive than some of the other tests, but again, if you're worried, you should ask your doctor specifically about these tests. But like I told the previous gentleman, it's normal for these ups and downs to happen. It's even normal for 5 months in to feel worse than ever. Still, most people see full recovery within a year as long as they're able to continue being porn-free and follow the other guidelines. I started masturbating when I was age 4, I guess, or even a bit younger. I watched my first porn at age 18 and I'm 29 now. Can I recover? Because when I do nofap, it leaves a big vacuum. The maximum I went in nofap is 9 days in the past 10 years. So it sounds like you're asking if you can, in fact, be abstinent long term, and if that's possible for you, even given that you've been masturbating since you were 4 years old. Well, I don't know from your question whether or not you want to be completely abstinent from masturbation or if you're just trying to abstain from porn. But either question, the answer is yes, it is possible if it's something that you really care about and want to commit to. Obviously, from where I come from and my background, I think for most people, it's more important to be porn-free than masturbation-free, but I absolutely support those who want to be masturbation-free as well. And that is something that will take a lot of development of different skills and development of different emotional coping mechanisms, because it's not just about the pleasure. You know, anyone who has difficulty stopping their porn habit has gotten to the point where they're using it for emotional reasons, not just for pleasure or for a sexual outlet. They're using it to cope with maybe loneliness, stress, boredom, depression, anything difficult like that they can use porn as a solution for, because it's so stimulating. It just pushes those other emotions right out of your head and it makes you feel better, at least for the moment. And if you don't figure out other ways to cope with those emotions, to confront them and work through them directly, or to soothe yourself and relax yourself in healthier ways, then you're going to keep coming back to what you know, to that safety blanket. But it absolutely is possible to change your life, to live in a way that you've never lived before. That's why I do what I do, is to help people do that. And if you're looking for more resources to help you get there, anything from more free videos and articles, my free ebook that you can download, or paid services like coaching with me, like the support and discussion group that I run, like the online courses that I offer, just go down to the link in the description of this video and check those out there. What can I do when I get urges to watch porn? Because I was reliving the sex I had with my girlfriend. So it sounds like you are remembering and fantasizing about past sexual experiences, and that triggers you, and that makes you want to act out with porn. That is normal when you are so bonded to porn and you have most of your masturbation experience linked to the use of pornography. When you start getting aroused or fantasizing, even if it's not about porn, if it's about real people or real experiences, real memories, it's natural for that to start to lead you back to porn, because that's where you've gone so many times in the past. But if you do still want to be able to fantasize, to be able to masturbate without porn, it's possible to rewire yourself and to reframe how you engage with masturbation. But it does take time and it takes some work. You can look up the article and video on my website or here on my YouTube channel, Is Masturbation Healthy or Not?, where I give tips on how to masturbate in a healthy way or fantasize in a healthy way without it becoming a slippery slope back to porn. Hey Noah, I appreciate your work. I was a porn addict for a decade and I developed PIED. Oh no. Currently I'm on 96 days of my no-fat mission. Huge improvement in mood, highly motivated. I work out almost every day. Importantly, I witnessed a huge improvement as well in my PIED situation. I will write my whole journey to you later, but for now I have a question. Since the beginning of this journey, I usually have one wet dream every month, but I already experienced 4 wet dreams in 12 days. Is this normal? So wet dream frequency or nocturnal emission frequency, if you want to get particular about terms, differs from individual to individual. And it also differs depending on their waking sexual activity. If you are having more frequent waking ejaculations, you'll probably experience a lower frequency of nocturnal emissions, and vice versa. So your increase in nocturnal emissions recently is probably due to it just having been quite a while since you've had a waking orgasm and ejaculation, and that is normal. Wet dreams, are mostly out of your control. So I advise people not to worry about them too much, whether they happen or whether they don't. It's not going to have a massive impact on your recovery. However, if you do feel like it's a setback, like you feel a hangover effect from those events, one thing that you can do is avoid sexual fantasy or stimulation before sleep. Thanks for taking the time to read this email. I stream a video game for a living, sometimes 8 or 9 hours a day. The video game is completely non-sexual in nature. However, I'm a classic overthinker. I have it in my mind that recovery won't be possible if I play this many hours of video games, even though it's my job. Can you put my mind at ease, please? Will playing these video games prevent me from recovering from PIED? I have completely stopped any PMO, and I plan to rewire in the future when I feel confident to start that process. I would like to set your mind at ease, and I will do so now. Playing that many hours of video games in a day is not going to impede your recovery from PIED. And that's because even though it is a dopaminergic activity, the brain processes sexual stimulation differently than it processes other forms of stimulation like non-sexual video games. And you're still going to be able to recover sexual sensitivity even while playing video games that often. And whether or not that's a healthy lifestyle for other reasons, that's up for debate, but I think it can be, especially if you're taking care of yourself properly when you're not working, and that your ways of relaxing and spending your downtime don't also involve a screen. So get yourself out there in the sunshine, outside, around other people, move your body, and take care of yourself in your off hours. And you can have a healthy lifestyle even when your job demands that you're looking at a screen during your working hours. I've heard that the more reboots you attempt, the longer the reboot flatline lasts. For example, if the first reboot includes 30 days of flatline, then after 2 relapses, the third reboot attempt takes more than 60 days of flatline. The brain's response to a change in stimulus gets confused when the process gets interrupted with the old stimuli. Does it mean that when I masturbate every 10 days without watching porn, now it's harder for me to get out of the flatline or period of low libido? So I haven't necessarily observed that exact phenomenon that you described, where the flatlines get longer and longer the more relapse and reboot cycles you experience, but I have seen that recovery in itself can take longer if you have been in that cycle of intermittent use, where you are abstinent for several weeks or several months before going back and using porn again. And that's because, and we see this in the brains of other types of addicts as well. You're basically educating your brain and teaching your brain the lesson that even if I withhold pornography from you for 3 weeks, for 3 months, it's going to come back. I'm going to give you porn again. So hold on to that conditioning for porn. Don't let go of it. Don't change. Don't heal. And that is a frustrating thing for people to hear who have been trying to recover for a long time, and they feel like all my best efforts have only put me in a worse situation. But you can absolutely still recover fully, just as you would have been able to do if you'd gone cold turkey and never used porn again after you first realized you wanted to quit. It just may take longer for that process to happen. And that may mean longer flatlines, but it's not guaranteed in any way. As for your question of whether masturbating without porn is delaying your healing process or dooming you to longer flatlines, my answer is probably not. But again, you need to learn to listen to your own body. If you're, have a high amount of sexual energy, and especially if you're single and you want to enjoy masturbation every 10 days and you don't notice ill effects, it's probably fine. But if you're only doing it out of some emotional need to cope or to soothe yourself or to reassure yourself that you can, and your body really doesn't feel ready for it, it feels like you're forcing it, then you may be delaying your recovery and setting yourself up for longer flatlines indeed. I've been doing NoFap for the last 3 months, and I have seen improvement. From a couple of days, my libido is back, and now I have urges to masturbate or have sex. Earlier, when I started NoFap, my brain was desensitized, and I was unable to get an erection even watching porn. But now I can get an erection when I watch a video or even look at hot pictures of a girl. But yet my erections are not fully hard. All right. Well, it sounds like you have recovered some sensitivity in this process of recovery, and now you're facing more urges. And that's a common experience. When people go into a flatline early on, often they want nothing more than for that flatline to end and for their libido to come back. But when it does happen, they're not prepared for it. And they often go back to looking at sexual content on a screen because they had no practice dealing with urges from being in that flatline. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. What I like to look for is the blessing in whatever experience I'm currently having. So if I'm in a flatline, for example, which for clarity's sake, I haven't been in a flatline for many years. But if I was in a flatline, I would look for the blessings in that. Okay, I can be free from urges and I can just focus on the rest of my life. I can focus on my work. I can focus on my hobbies. Great. I don't have to fight urges. But I would also prepare for the time when that flatline ends and I do have to fight urges, having in mind, how am I going to protect myself, install blockers or accountability software on my devices, or also come up with a plan for how to handle urges in the moment and practice some techniques for that, like mindfulness techniques, urge surfing techniques, things like that. And if I'm in a period of high libido where I'm having lots of urges, look for the blessings in that. It looks like, okay, well, I'm not in a flat line. I know that this sexual energy is within me. This is a natural part of who I am as a human being, as a man. And this gives me an opportunity to express it healthfully with a partner, if that's an option for me, but also an opportunity to practice the skills of channeling that energy in productive directions, or of not being enslaved and controlled by that energy, but instead being the master of that energy. And that doesn't mean crush it and squash it down and deny it and shame myself for it, but it does mean having the agency to be able to choose when and how and with whom to express that energy. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're all here. Let's see. I'm experiencing flatline multiple times. Sometimes it lasts for 2 to 3 days, sometimes a little longer, And in between, I do get morning wood and erections. Is that normal? And should I just continue? By the way, love your content, keep grinding. So you're experiencing multiple flatlines. Flatlines tend to last 2 days to a week, it sounds like. And then in between, you get morning wood and erections. It sounds like you are just in the up and down section of recovery. I'm guessing that you are in the first 3 months of recovery because those quick ups and downs tend to happen more often in the earlier days of recovery. So that's something that I would absolutely expect to see, and it's not something that I would be too worried about. Just continue doing what you know is right for you and avoiding what you know is wrong for you, and allow time to do the rest. In the short term, looking at your progress, it can be frustrating because you might think, well, I was feeling great yesterday, but I feel like trash today. But really, it's better tracked from month to month. You know, how was I feeling last month versus this month? And if you zoom out like that in recovery, you will often find that you are trending upwards in the direction that you desire. If you hear whining, it's my dog. She wants attention. It's okay. Will touching myself for a few minutes every day set me back? It's necessary for me to do stretching exercises when I'm hard because I have frenulum breve and phimosis. I try not to use fantasies during these periods of stretching. You said that we have to reach 1 to 3 months without masturbation. After many failures, I'm on day 16 and will hit 3 months. But will these stretching exercises prevent me from rebooting properly during those 3 months? No. Continue doing your stretching exercises that it sounds like have been medically mandated to treat your particular issues. They're not going to prevent you from recovering. And while I do say that it is beneficial at some point during your recovery to go for at least 30 days completely abstinent, no masturbation, it's not something that I mandate as necessary or that I mandate that you have to do in your first 30 days or 90 days. What's your take on involuntary / unconscious touching or grabbing of the privates? I've noticed during my reboots that I sometimes wake up from sleeping to find I'm holding myself. Is this detrimental to recovery in any way? It often happens during the morning wood phase, and I immediately move my hand away as soon as I realize what's happening. So, similar answer to the last gentleman, no, this is not going to impede your recovery. If you've committed to not pleasuring yourself, not masturbating at all, then that's great, but you're doing the exact right thing. As soon as you realize what's happening, you stop, and don't shame yourself for it. Don't overthink it. Just continue forward. You'll be fine. Hi, Noah. I appreciate you for your effort in guiding people. My question is, during the reboot, how much time does it take to get over the episodes of anxiety, depression, and insomnia? When do they start, and how long do they stay? For how many days? Thanks. Yeah, that period of time when you are experiencing these withdrawal symptoms, it could be anxiety, mood swings, depression, insomnia, low energy, mania, even symptoms of feeling physically ill, high sex drive, low sex drive, flatline. Everyone wants to know, where is the light at the end of this tunnel? How long is this going to last? And I can only give you ranges. For most people, they get through that period of high intensity withdrawals within or around the first 3 months, as long as they are sticking to the guidelines, remaining porn-free, of course. They may experience moments of those withdrawal symptoms or lingering, less intense withdrawal symptoms for months afterward. But most people within 6 months to a year are free from withdrawal symptoms, feeling good, well on their way, or even fully recovered. Some people do experience pause, post-acute withdrawal syndrome, and that is when someone experiences those withdrawal symptoms or a lower intensity but more persistent period of withdrawal symptoms for much longer than the first 3 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. And that can definitely be a scary thing, and it's still something that we are learning about, especially as it relates to porn recovery. But even those people who have had pause, who have struggled with those symptoms for a year, 2 years, more, I've seen those people recover as well and get through that period of withdrawal symptoms. But most people won't have to worry about that. For most people, it'll be a matter of months before those abate. Hey Noah, I was wondering if you or anyone you've worked with have experienced an episode which I can only describe as a night terror that lasts for a few hours. This has happened to me twice, and both times I was near the 90-day mark of a reboot. Keep up the good work. I haven't experienced night terrors myself. I've certainly experienced in recovery intense dreams, some of which were frightening or disturbing. A lot of people experience more intense dreams. And, when you are taking away the candy that your brain has been consuming for many years, your brain is going to revolt in many ways. And one of those ways can be like introducing these high intensity emotions like paranoia, anxiety, fear. And I can definitely imagine that coming out as a night terror. But it sounds like it's not something that's happening every night or very frequently, which is a blessing. And it's probably, a last kick from your brain saying like, what do I have to do to you? What horrible feelings do I have to give you to make you give me what I need, what I want? Porn. And if you do not give in to that, if you do not reward that suffering that your brain gives to you in order to make you relapse with porn, your brain is going to adapt and you'll get through that period, and you won't, I imagine, struggle with these night terrors for many months or many years if they are related to recovery. However, I got distracted and my dog was whining at me. But I think I answered your question. Hey Noah, do I need to have a girlfriend for the purpose of rewiring to heal from PIED, or can I heal just by abstaining from porn? In order to fully recover, like completely regain confidence and trust in your erections and your sexual responsiveness, rewiring is necessary. Rewiring doesn't have to include, at least in the beginning, full-on intercourse. Rewiring can be holding hands, kissing, going on a date, cuddling. All of that will be rewiring your sexual response system to real touch, to real eye contact, and real intimacy. And you'll be able to notice your body responding to that more and more as you practice it and as time goes on. But it is absolutely possible to get to the point in recovery just through abstaining from porn and often masturbation, where the first time you have sex, it can be successful. But even for those people, they're still not fully recovered until they've gone through some degree of rewiring and practice of intimacy. It's like, I'm trying to think of a metaphor. It's like you're practicing all the skills of a sport. Like you're practicing dribbling the basketball, you're practicing shooting baskets, you're practicing, passing and interceptions and guarding. But until you actually get in the game, you don't know how all of those skills you've been practicing are going to cohere. You might still suck at basketball for your first few games until you practice putting all that stuff together. Noah, what scares me most about my journey is that I think my mind is already broken physically, and it will never heal the way it was. Though I am doing well because of your... Joey, come here. Sit. I need you to be quiet. I'm doing a live stream. Though I am doing well because of your help, I'm really grateful. This thought can be a bit too much sometimes. So I emailed back this individual and I asked for some more clarification. Like, what do you mean you feel like your brain is physically broken? And I got some more information from him. He's a young man, teenager, still in the process of recovery, still learning about all this. And yeah, that fear of like, have I permanently damaged myself? Have I permanently broken my brain? It's a common one and an understandable one. It's one I had myself. But I want to reassure you that you can reverse many of the changes that you have wrought in your own brain through years of chronic pornography use. You can recover, for instance, from hypofrontality, which is that process by which the connection between the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain most responsible for rational thought and planning, you can repair that connection between that part of your brain and the part of your brain that is responsible for giving you motivation and feeling desire and just wanting to act on impulse. And when that connection is weak, as happens in people who are addicted, you have less self-control, less ability to make rational decisions and stick to your choices. But that process, it's been proven, can be reversed, not only through abstaining from your addiction, but also through active lifestyle changes like practicing mindfulness and meditation. Other changes to your brain, like the loss of sensitivity or changing sexual tastes that may have happened through your years of porn use, are also often reversible. You can get back to enjoying vanilla sexuality and enjoying real life interaction with a partner. Even if you've never had that before, you can learn how to. Now, there are some lingering things that will never completely go away. And I do say, once an addict, always an addict. And that doesn't mean you're going to be doomed to be caught in the same relapse cycle for the rest of your life. But it does mean that this is a part of you. And even if it becomes dormant, even if that porn part of you, that porn addict part of you is dormant and no longer in control, it's still there. And if you start feeding it, you can wake it up again. And you can bring back all those problems that you've developed with your porn use very quickly. Another question people often have related to this is, I developed these weird sexual tastes in my porn use. Will they go away after I recover? And for some people, they do. It's like for some smokers, once they quit smoking, they might develop an aversion to the smell of tobacco smoke. They might find it disgusting. Great. That makes it easier for them to stay cigarette free. But for others, they might always love the smell. They might always find it tempting. But they decide they don't want to smoke anymore, and they don't. And it's similar here. You might lose interest completely in some of your sexual desires that are disturbing to you that you developed through your porn use, or they might always hold an appeal for you, but just not be required for you to have a satisfying sexual experience. And whether or not you engage with those desires in a consensual, healthy, enthusiastic sexual relationship is up to you and your partner. Hey Noah, I sat on the bus next to a girl and I was getting a massive boner. Does that mean I'm fully rewired? We were not even touching, just sitting there. It blew my mind. Great. Yeah, that's a great sign that you are sensitive. Your sensitivity has come back. It's more of a sign that you are well rebooted than rewired. Because when you are rebooted, you have that sensitivity back. But if you haven't actually practiced intimacy, you might still find the experience of real sex feeling alien to you, or you might lose your erection partway through. That's okay. You just need to practice that and get used to it and grow to desire it. Just like you might grow to desire a new culinary dish that you've never tasted before, that you're a little skeptical about at first, but after you've had it a couple of times, now you start to crave it. It's similar for real sex, and that's what the rewiring process is about. But it does sound like you are well rebooted and that you are ready to start rewiring if those opportunities exist for you and you want to do that. Is it okay to watch girls in real life and to text with girls during the reboot? This really depends on you and your own boundaries and how that affects you. It's natural to have your eyes drawn to feminine beauty if you're a heterosexual male, It's natural to want to interact with them, whether in real life or in text. But you have to be honest with yourself about the degree to which you are doing those things and whether or not they're moving you towards what you really want. Are those things moving you towards real relationships, real sexuality, real intimacy? Or are they only triggering you to go back to porn? Are they causing relapses or greater frequency of urges? You just have to be introspective and honest with yourself. And those boundaries can change over time as well. Someone might decide for the first 90 days, I'm not going to text with girls, I'm not going to sex with girls, because that is part of my addiction. That's triggering to me. That makes me just want to go back and masturbate or use porn. But after they've reached a certain level of recovery and stability in that sobriety, they might decide, okay, I do want to start texting and communicating with women again, but it's going to be with the intention of forming real life connections and getting together in person and going on dates, etc. What is your best options for a single male that has been on a long reboot but can't seem to get his sexual energy back? I would want to know how long that reboot has been, and if we were on a coaching call, I would ask you a lot more questions, get a lot more details about your particular situation. If it's been 8 months, a year, longer, you've been completely porn-free, pretty much completely masturbation-free, and you just don't have your sex drive, it could be that you are one of those for whom you get into sort of a sexual hibernation period where your body might be capable of having sex and having that sex drive come back, but because you've gotten so used to living without sexuality, that's just the mode that you're in now. And you might find that if you do start dating, if you do start having opportunities for intimacy and for sex, that you wake that part of you up again and it comes back full force. If that's something that you want to happen before you start dating, then it's possible that you can start introducing porn-free masturbation in a healthy way. Again, search for my video on that, is masturbation healthy or not, to get more tips and wisdom about how to do that in a healthy way. Getting questions about knee pain. Hey Noah, do you know anyone who has felt knee pain post-ejaculation? Many guys, including myself, have felt it, with many having developed clinical arthritis. And another gentleman said, Noah, the guy above, he's right. I've also felt knee pain for weeks after ejaculation. Now I don't even do squats. To be honest, I don't have much knowledge or experience with the relationship between ejaculation and joint pain or arthritis. It's certainly possible. I'm definitely open to that possibility that ejaculation or over-ejaculation can have that effect on the body. It can be draining on the body, and perhaps for those predisposed to joint pain or arthritis, perhaps it aggravates that. And if that is describing you, then you can choose to enjoy sexuality while limiting or completely abstaining from orgasms. And that practice is called Karezza with a K, Karezza. And that's something that you should look more into. It's a way of approaching sex and lovemaking in which you are abstaining from orgasm so you can still enjoy sex and the bonding and the experience and the intimacy, but without the poor effects of ejaculation, if those are bothering you. Weed destroyed masturbation and sex for me, where I only really enjoy it when I'm high. Have you ever talked to someone like me? How do I rewire? I've been 8 months free from both, but my dick doesn't work. Yeah, some people can get to that point where they are pairing sexuality with substance use, whether that's marijuana or something else. They can grow reliant on using that to increase the intensity, to dial up the intensity. Many of porn users, like myself, dial that intensity up by seeking new genres or new types of pornographic content, but another way of dialing that intensity up is to pair masturbation or porn use with substances. And the recovery from that is similar to the recovery from other types of desensitization and escalation. Give yourself enough time, completely free from it all, to heal and gain that sensitivity back, and then start to rewire and practice the type of real sexual intimacy without substances that you want to enjoy in the long term. If it's been 8 months for you and you're still not experiencing your sex drive, like I advised for the previous gentleman, it could be that you are not giving yourself the opportunity to wake that part of yourself up. And so it might be time for you to start giving yourself those opportunities, to start dating, to start opening yourself up to those possibilities. Even if you don't feel that sex drive right now, you can wake that part of yourself up. And vice versa, if you've been trying to force it to happen, if you've been trying to masturbate or trying to have sex consistently and it's not working, maybe you need a period of time in which you're not trying and you're just giving it a complete rest. I just finished reading Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson for the first time, and it has really shone a light on my last 3 years at university. It's changed my life. Absolutely. Yeah, that's Gary's work opened my eyes as well when I saw his TED Talk, The Great Porn Experiment, for the first time. So I'm really glad that you found that book. For anyone else out there, definitely read the book, Your Brain on Porn. If you want to listen to the audiobook version, it's narrated by me, so you get to hear my voice some more. But great book, a lot of foundational information in there. And the website as well is still one of the best resources online for people wanting to learn more about how porn affects the brain. yourbrainonporn.com. Do you have any other book recommendations like Gary's book? He asks. Well, my own book. A lot of similar information is covered in my book, but my book is also more personal, has more personal stories, both of myself and of other rebooters, and has a different tone, takes a different angle. So it's called Whack, Addicted to Internet Porn. You can buy it on Amazon or get it for free as a PDF if you subscribe to my email newsletter, link in the description below. You're on 5 months reboot. You don't have morning wood. Is it normal? I don't know if it was you, but I answered that question earlier on in the stream. So watch the replay of the stream and you'll see that I already answered that question. All right, gentlemen, I think I'm going to call it for today. I believe I answered all the pre-given questions, and I think I answered all the ones in the live chat as well. All right, let's have, oh wait, one more. If you don't mind, can you please mention a rough estimate of number of times ejaculated? There is a number of 4,000 in the nofap communities, post which you get the joint pain. I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that. I am secure enough that I can admit when I do not know. And as far as I've read, I haven't read in any of the scientific literature anything about a certain lifetime number of orgasms or ejaculations past which you get joint pain or other effects. It could be true, but I haven't seen the evidence for it yet. My inclination is that it's sort of an urban legend. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful porn-free weekend. I'll see you in the next live stream. Continue moving forward. No matter what it takes, it's worth it. Life is better without porn in pretty much every way, and you'll get there if you're not already. Cheers.